The priest steps forward, golden eyes burning with divine power. "In the name of Aetherion, flame of dawn, you shall not pass." Another priest interrupts. "No, in the name of Kairos, bringer of judgment, this heresy ends now." Then a third voice, softer but firm. "They both overreach. You walk with Eliza, do you not?" The party stares. 3 gods, 3 factions, one very confused group of adventurers. Hey everyone, I am Kelfecil, professional narrative and game designer, and today we're diving into the divine mess that is having too many gods in your setting. This is a spiritual sequel, pun intended, to our previous episode of Too Many Monsters. And just like monsters, gods can clutter your story just as much as they can enrich it. In this episode, we'll explore when pantheons enhance narrative and when they just turn things into a theological soup. Let's get into it. Why do we add gods though? Gods are fantastic narrative devices. They embody ideals, serve as symbolic representations of values, and provide systems of faith and belief that shape entire cultures, really. They create divine instructions, spark holy wars, and offer players unique story hooks that are often larger than life. I often see creators get carried away and start building entire divine ecosystems. Gods of harvest, gods of war, gods of memory, and what have you. I don't know, gods of guild, gods of starlight, I'm guilty of that. But all those things, like the list goes on. Every time I crack open a new fantasy setting, there's at least one pantheon that feels like someone was trying to impress an art director. And all these obscure names, long-winded titles, bizarre symbology that reads more like a collectible card game than a believable faith, like they just become too much. It looks impressive, sure, but if none of it ties back to the story, it's just background noise, right? Lore wallpaper, world-building fluff. Gods can be compelling, but only if they matter. And I know I say that word a lot, but bear with me. Quick benefits of using gods well can be things like represent key ideals or cultural values, drive conflict between belief systems, or justify divine magic and create meaningful factions. So pantheons often suffer from the same issue as overly complex political maps. And let me explain. Too many flags and not enough war. You can have a dozen gods, but if they don't actually show up in the story through action and through consequence, they're just names in a book. I've read dozens of settings, like, well, setting bibles, let's say, and campaign pitches where there's this massive pantheon laid out, beautifully designed and symbolically rich, and then you get to the actual adventure and not a single god is relevant to the actual adventure and any of the events that are playing out. What's the point of having a god of secrets if no one ever uncovers one? What's the point of having a god of storms if a sailor never fears invoking their wrath? If you want gods to work in your narrative, they need to act. They need followers, they need rivalries, they need consequences, they need to be part of the machine that drives the story forward. So let's return to the golden rule of narrative design. Write the theme first, then the divine. Let's say your campaign centers on industrial expansion clashing with ancient natural magic. Great, you don't need 15 gods, you need 2 of them. A god of progress, metal, fire and conquest, and a god of the wilds, of decay, of rebirth and memory, like a bit more natural, right? Now every cultural conflict, every religious zealot, every ruined temple has weight to it. Now the cleric's powers aren't just spells, they're statements to something grander than themselves. In this approach, each god doesn't just exist, they are embodied. They turn abstract tensions into characters, into systems and into stakes. This is where the fun starts. You don't build gods like entries in an encyclopedia. You build them like characters, active, flawed, loved, hated, real, like actual things that are in the story. So keep these things in mind. Lead with a story that needs the gods. Build deities around those needs, and let the conflict serve the pantheons, not the other way around. Sometimes fewer gods is exactly what your world needs. Take a look at something like The Witcher, for example. Most divine forces are whispered about, but never directly shown. The mystery itself is the story. Or Eberron, the Eberron setting, where the gods don't manifest at all, leaving faith as an open question. What makes that powerful is that the gods become mirrors for the people who believe in them. Conflicts arise not from the gods themselves, but from the interpretation of them through their believers. So if you have many gods in your setting, you should ask yourself, do they serve the emotional tension of your world? Or are they just there because it felt like you needed a god or for every reason that you made? My advice? focus to 3 to 5 core deities. That way, you can give them real agendas. You can let things move forward. And you can also let them mess up. Let their followers disagree. That's how you make gods unforgettable. One of the strongest ways to use gods in narrative design is to tie them directly to character arcs. So don't think in terms of pantheon scale. Think about personal investment. One player's journey of faith can be more memorable than a dozen temple raids. What happens when a cleric's god falls silent? What if a paladin starts to question their code? Or a warlock learns that their patron is basically a god that has manipulated them all along? These moments aren't just good drama, they're opportunities. They're opportunities that explore identity, they explore trust, they explore doubt, and legacy. They're all things that we want to use in our stories so that our stories can thrive. So instead of writing 20 gods in your setting Bible, write one NPC, write one god that will basically make your players really feel something. So mechanically, gods can be more than just lore dumps in your story flavors, right? They can be something more. They can act as dynamic levers in your world. And design-wise, you can use your gods to lock and unlock parts of your world. So for example, let's say an ancient artifact only responds to divine favor, or celestial constructs enforce divine law in a specific city, or divine magic alters the environment or certain NPC attributes in some other area. But the trick is making it feel natural. Don't just say, only a follower of this specific god can open this door. Instead say, only those who carry the fire of this specific god in their soul, those who have sacrificed, can walk through this flame unburned. Make it epic, basically. Well, I mean, that goes without saying, but you know, when it comes to gods, you can always fluff it up a little bit, right? Some of you love big pantheons, and I get it. I do that too sometimes, at least I used to, but here's how I approach it when I do want many gods. Structure it in tiers. Make it major gods, who are basically like the ones that really move kingdoms, that really shake nations, and make it minor gods, cultural figures, and regional deities, like more powerful people, let's say, and whatnot. Lost gods, which are whispered in ruins and in forgotten faiths. This kind of structure, which is one of many, of course, you can always make your own, it will help you manage the scale while still making discovery and worship meaningful. It also lets the players explore religious dynamics and do that across time as they play through a specific campaign. And you always need to remember that implication is powerful. One line of graffiti, like for example, Uko sleeps beneath the 7 names or something like that, something epic, can speak louder than a chapter of backstory. So, too many gods? Maybe. Well, but the right gods, that's where narrative design really shines. Keep your divine figures tied to the theme. Use fewer names and also give each one more weight. Make the divine personal, playable, potent, and that way a god doesn't need to have 1,000 followers to be interesting. They just need one player who believes in them. So that's all for today. If you ever build a pantheon or trimmed one down, let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear what your divine design includes and how it evolved over time. If you like this video, remember to hit that thumbs up and subscribe for more weekly content on narrative and game design for ttrpgs. And if you of course want more exclusive content, you'll be very happy to know that I run my own Patreon page where I release brand new ttrpg releases and content and materials every single month. A huge thank you to all my amazing patrons who keep this channel going and help me do what I love the most. Till next time, may Starlight guide your way, my friends. Bye bye.